Welcome to Hey Soul Sista, the podcast for women ready to embrace greater joy, freedom, and a soulful life. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to subscribe, follow, like, and share. Hey, Geoff, welcome to Hey Soul Sista.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Now, I am very chuffed to have you as a guest on the podcast because we met online.
We did.
About, I think it was maybe March this year, maybe March, April. And that was not in any untoward way meeting online. It was that you were recommended to me as a Vedic astrologer.
Yes.
And I had an online Vedic astrology
reading
with you.
Yeah, which was great.
It was cool.
And didn't I tell you in that reading that you had to start your podcast again?
Yes. And what I loved was you said you need to start your podcast again because I hadn't podcasted for, say, 18 months. And you also told me when I should release the first episode.
Right.
In line with the stars and the energy.
And probably a planetary shift change that was happening at that time.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. And because of that, and it was in July, it was around the 7th of July, something was happening in my houses. I can't remember exactly what.
I can't remember exactly. So I should have looked it up before, but it's all right.
Yeah, but I remember you said, right, you need to do it around the 7th of July from then or in the weeks after that. And so I started recording in May in preparation for that date.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, it's all about taking action as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's been wonderful. It's been great to be consistently releasing episodes to connect people to live a more soulful, purposeful, maybe spiritual life and to see it growing again.
That's beautiful. And it's gone full circle.
I know.
Yes.
And now you're here as a guest.
Now I'm here as a guest. Who knew?
I know. And I wanted you as a guest. And I don't have men on here often.
Well, I was wondering where that one was called Solstice. But I'm pretty lucky.
Yeah. Well, yes, we're going to call you an honorary bro.
Okay, no worries.
But I really wanted you to come on here because I really thought our reading was great. The reading that you did for me was great. And also you introduced me to the breathwork.
Yeah, to Himalayan breathwork.
Himalayan breathwork.
Yeah.
Which changed my life.
It does, yes. It's because it's all about aligning your energy. So a lot of times when we're feeling a bit out of control or we're anxious or depressed or unsure what we've got to do, a lot of times it's because our energetic body, we're just energy, right? We're connected to the chakra system of the body, that it's just, it's out of alignment. So what the Himalayan breathwork does, or it's called Sattva yoga technically, right? So it's Sattva yoga. We call it Himalayan breathwork because if you say Sattva yoga, people think that you're going to be doing asana all the time, even though asana is part of it as when you do the bigger journeys.
Yes.
But the Himalayan breathwork stuff really does align the energy systems of the body and start to just get you into alignment, get you back into your body, and so you can have more clarity and understand where you're going. Then you can trust your feelings. Well,
I didn't realize that Sattva yoga actually was Himalayan breathwork. And I was looking at your website and it said Sattva yoga and I'm like, oh, wow. Geoff does yoga too. I didn't realize it wasn't asana, which asana, for those of you who don't know, is more doing the physical poses.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
The physical poses.
Yeah, like downward dog and warrior pose. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So Sattva yoga is the Himalayan breathwork.
Yeah, it is. It's all of it. It's the whole technology of yoga. So it's like Kriya, which is evolutionary actions. That's using mantra and mudra. There's like breath, which is the main component. There's also asana, which is like moving the energy then through the body. So when we do the big 90-minute versions, so some of the ones I gave you would have been like half an hour or the smaller versions. So those ones are more Kriya based where you're sitting down just aligning the energy. But then there's also the ones where, like, for example, on the weekends I do sometimes, like even in Newcastle or Sydney, we do like the 90-minute versions, which are like 20 or 30 minutes of breath. And you stand up and do 20 minutes of standing series like yoga and also a standing breath kind of series. And then you go back down and then go into the meditative, more aligning part.
Yeah. Okay. Well, after that reading, you very kindly sent me through a recording of the reading, emailed that through to me, but also you had links to some of your breathwork practices. And I think one of them in particular was a self-love practice. And you have those on YouTube. And what I loved was you said to me, do this every day for 7 days. And you said this will be a gift to yourself. And so I did it. So, and the first day, so it was like a 25-minute practice. So about 16 minutes of the actual breath practices, and then 10-minute heart opening meditation.
Yeah.
Which I was following. You had my laptop set up, and I was following you on YouTube. And the first day, I felt clunky. I felt really clunky doing it, and I'm like, oh gosh, because I had never done that before.
Yeah.
The second day, I did it again, a little bit less clunky. Third day, wow. And so I did it for 7 days, and I kept doing it. And it really was a life changer. It was a game changer. And so I was really grateful to you for sharing that with me. And again, if you have it on YouTube, but for you emailing that. And because you said to me, just do it every day for 7 days, you go, I can do 7 days.
Yeah.
I can do something for 7 days straight. I can commit to that.
Yeah.
And then I kept going with it.
No, and that's the idea, like, I do get that a lot because I do subscribe that to people sometimes. And I normally say that if you feel like you want to keep going, because I get you to journal a little bit at the end to see what comes up after we've done that heart meditation. Yep. So I feel like after you've done that, then sometimes people go, can I keep going? It's like, yes.
Yes.
Going.
The other thing that I really noticed was I started to really feel so much calmer just generally through the days. Because as a child and, growing up, becoming an adult, I was probably someone who was quite highly anxious. And just some childhood stuff there, like we all have.
Yeah.
Or most of it. No, not all of us, but a lot of us do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I really noticed the impact of that. And I was doing the journaling as well. And it was funny because my hubby noticed the difference. He's like free and easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he really noticed that. And just recently I had a 2-week period, found out Mercury was in retrograde.
Yeah.
And I said to my hubby, I'm not feeling great. I'm anxious and things are bugging me. And he said, you haven't done your breath work. You haven't been doing it. And I was like, wow, he noticed and I noticed.
Yeah. No, it is. It's because it's a practice, right? It's supposed to end up being like, that particular one you do for a reason. And then there's also, I have many practices that are on my YouTube channel, so you can try lots of different ones, or you can come to a class, a live class. But these practices are all designed to be like almost turn into like cleaning your teeth. It's just something that you do every day or every other day, but just something to keep you in alignment. Because even with meditation, for example, as well, it's not supposed to be like a tactic that you use like, I feel stressed, so I better meditate. It's like if you consistently have a meditation practice, you don't really get stressed.
Yes.
Right? That's the whole idea, is that you continually have this practice so that you are always living in alignment with yourself and with the laws of nature and with everything. You just have less stress in the body, and because you've just got this beautiful tool that just kind of bookends your day and keeps you balanced.
Now, we're going to dive a bit further into this a little bit later because, again, the reason I wanted to share this on the podcast is because I know so many women and men that live with anxiety or can get overwhelmed with their day-to-day life, can get really stuck. And I have just found this to be a game changer. That and also the conscious connected breath work with Nicola.
Yeah.
Unite.
Yeah, I love Nicola.
I love Nicola too. Well, she referred you to me. They are game changers for me. And I really want to share this with you, sisters, because I want you to have some of this too. It really does change your life. And yes. But before we get back into that, I want to hear a bit about your journey because I know a little bit, but I don't know it all. How did you even find this world?
Well, I think that it was something where I was working in television. So I was like an executive in TV for a long time. So I had kind of a high stress job. And then I realized that I was a bit out of control. And, first of all, you do the normal things like drink too much alcohol, and smoke some stuff and do whatever you need to do to try to cope. And then you realize that's not actually working. It's not helping me.
Yeah.
And then I had some friends that had done Vedic meditation before. And so I was doing my own thing. It was like the same thing where I was doing a breath meditation, then I was doing something else, and I was using kind of guided meditations, I suppose. And then my friend just kept saying like, come and do this one. And I was like, and I went and did intro talks and, it cost $1,000. I used to make a lot of money. So it wasn't the money part of it, but I was like, well, if it's so good, it should be free.
Yeah.
But actually you understand now why people have to charge, because if you're a teacher, you've still got to pay the bills and do everything else.
You need to live your life, right?
Yeah. And it's also not that it's expensive. It's just that it's like, after you kind of learn, everything's free after that. It's kind of like you pay up front and then that's
Yeah.
it. But I remember like I went to a talk one night. So Tom Knowles was my first teacher. So I remember she took me to this talk to go and see him, and he sat on the couch and was like, oh, well, you know, we're probably just come from work, and so let's just meditate first. And if you've got a mantra, you use your mantra. And if you don't have one, then just do whatever you do.
Did you have a mantra?
At that point, I did not have a mantra. So, but I was with all the people who did have a mantra because my friend had bought me the ticket.
Yeah.
And then I remember halfway through the meditation, I opened my eyes and I could see other people with their eyes open. And then I looked with my friend and I looked at her friends that she was with, and I was like, whatever they've got, I definitely don't have that. You know, because they just all look so peaceful and stuff. So I was like,
you noticed the difference.
like as soon as I looked at them, I thought, whatever they've got, like I don't have that. Like they just had their eyes closed and they were just meditating, right? And I looked around and I was like, yeah, the rest of us are doing a breath meditation, or we're doing like whatever we're doing. And then that night I ended up going up to the teacher and said, I need to learn tomorrow. And they were like, and I'd been to 3 introductory talks and not signed up each time.
Wow.
And so I was like, I need to learn tomorrow. And they were like, well, I need to teach on Mondays. And I was like, no, I'll talk myself out of it by Monday. So I need to learn tomorrow. And they're like, well, it's $1,500 for a private. And I was like, I don't care how much it costs now. Let's just do it.
I mean,
and you know what? And I did it that first day and I never not did it again. It was one of those things where I just did it. And it was a technique that just really worked, you know, like Vedic meditation is a transcending technique using a mantra. So, and the mantras aren't like I am love or, you know, something like that. They're like sounds, which are the sounds of nature actually. And they really help your mind go from active thinking mind down to that place of transcendence, because your egoic mind can't latch onto any meaning of that word, even though it's trying to, right? So if I said to you, your mantra means love, inside your mind while you're trying to meditate, it'd be like, oh, well, this doesn't make me feel like love. Like I'm not really feeling love. If this is supposed to sound like love, but like I still don't feel love, so it's not working, right?
I've experienced that.
Yeah.
I've so experienced that.
But if you have a mantra that's just a bija sound, so they're bija mantras. Bija means seed in Sanskrit. So they're just seed sounds that don't have any meaning. They're like the essence of something, you know, of nature. And then they just cause your mind to transcend and go down to that place of transcendence. But then people think as well that you're not supposed to have any thought, but you will have moments of no thought and you won't remember the mantra either. And then nature's way of releasing stress from the nervous system is to have a thought. So when your mind is at ease and your body goes into a deep relaxation, as soon as it goes into the deep relaxation, it goes like, I want to purify. I need to start releasing stress from the nervous system. So it does that by having a thought. And then, so when you have a thought, it's like popping it out of meditation, but then you use this mantra takes you back down again, because the mind doesn't know what to do with it apart from follow it, because it feels charming. It doesn't, you know, it's taking it down to this place of transcendence. Like it goes, I don't know what to do with this thing, but it's pulling me down, and then it just pulls you down. And then you go through again a few moments of like no thought and no mantra, and you go into that beautiful space, and it pops you back out again. And the whole idea is that obviously the more you do that, the longer you stay down there, and that's how it is. But, you know, and the thing is as well with thoughts, when people meditate long enough, you realize that the first lot of thoughts that you're having when people are having thoughts are normally what's happening in your day-to-day life, like right now, because that's what's at the top part of your thing, of your mind, and of what you're going through in your life. Because every time your body has a stress response to something, it takes a snapshot of your 5 senses and then stores it in the body. That's what it's doing. So that first lot of purification is really just what's been happening lately. But if you actually stay the course and do it for at least 6 weeks, say for example, then you normally start having thoughts about when I was riding a bike, or when I broke up with my girlfriend or my boyfriend, or like, you know, when I was 16 or 25, and get people saying like, I haven't thought about my ex-wife for 16 years, but she's in my meditations now. And I was like, oh, was it a bad breakup? And they're like, yeah, it was at the time. And as well, that you just pushed it down. You never let it.
You suppressed it.
You suppressed it. So that's what a lot of people do, right? They're always pushing their feelings down, thinking that they've dealt with it, but actually they've just moved on until something normally triggers it to, you know.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people, when they go through grief or heartache or negative things that happen in life, people around you, well-meaning people, go, okay, you just need to move past that. You need to get over it. You need to move on with your life. So what do you do then? You suppress it.
That's right.
Wow. But when you're suppressing it, you're really just storing it somewhere.
You're just storing it somewhere. It's not going anywhere. All it's doing is building up with more stress that's going into your body, right? That's where like 89% of like all disease in the body comes from stress in the body, right? It's not really from from other things. It's because our body can't purify itself, because when we're in a stressed state, then our body's like acidic in nature. So it's, we're not like.
Have you read David Hawkins' Letting Go?
Yes.
Yes, because he talks about that.
Yeah.
Which I found that was like an aha moment for me.
I really liked that book. That's a very good book to read if anyone wants to read a good book.
Yeah, and he talks about that with feelings that we repress, suppress.
And he actually listed what they were. That's what I really liked about the way that he wrote that book, was that he explained something and then he goes like, these are the feelings that are attached to that particular thing. So then you could actually almost analyze it as well a bit to go like, oh yeah, when I am feeling like that, I do feel like that. That's why I thought that was well written, that book.
If you're listening, look that book up, David Hawkins' Letting Go. And he also talks about energy frequencies attached with feelings, which I found fascinating.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
It's really interesting. We won't dive into that now, but I would highly recommend it, and I'll pop it up on their socials or in the show notes.
So that's how I got into meditation.
Yes.
And then I was using it as a stress management technique, right? So I started meditating, I was doing it, and then it was actually while I was kind of in the middle of meditation, maybe I'd been a year or so into it, then I did an executive health check at work and found out that I had prostate cancer at 39.
Shit.
It was funny when they were doing our executive health check, I was like, oh, can you check my PSA? And they were like, are you 50? And I was like, no, but I'm going to turn 40 next year, so at least I'll know that. When I was 40, it was 0, and my dad had it at 55, so he'd had it young, so it was like in the back of my mind a little bit. And and then it came back and it was high. And then not long after that, I got made redundant from that job. So I was at Channel 10, and so it got bought by Lachlan Murdoch and James Packer, and then they just were reshaping it. They didn't know that I had cancer and stuff, obviously. But at the time when I had to get rid of people, I was like, hey, I'd rather go because this is what's going on. Yeah. So I left. And then I was lucky in a way, because that's the whole way where I feel like you can live in tune with the universe as well. At the time, I felt like the sky was falling. Finding I had cancer, I lost my job, thinking like, ugh. But I'd been at Channel 10 for 10 years. I was lucky that I got my long service leave. I got a payout for getting made redundant. And then it gave me space to be able to spend a few months to go, actually, I don't really need to panic for a while. I could literally have 6 months and then not have to do anything, so I can just look after myself. So that's pretty much what I did as well. I went deep into meditation. I was meditating every day. I really used that technique to help me.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Do you watch Morning Wars?
Yes.
Were you like Chip?
A little bit, I suppose. Yeah.
When I say Chip, because he is the TV producer on Morning Wars, and when I watch Chip, he's just trying to keep everybody together. He's just trying to keep it all moving.
For sure, 100%.
So when I found out that you were a TV producer, I actually did wonder. I'm like, because Chip is a great guy. He's just trying really hard to keep the show together, keep everybody on track. And I'm like, I wonder if that was like Geoff.
No, definitely. My whole life was like that there, for sure.
So no wonder there's so much stress.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that, I was someone who, when I was 23, I got offered a job in Hong Kong, and I went and lived in Hong Kong for 3 years, and I lived in Malaysia for a year launching sports channels, and then I went to the UK and did Disney Channel UK as well. So I think that from a young age, I just said yes to everything. I don't really know why. I was just one of those people that was going like, oh, it just feels right, so I'm just going to do it, even though at the time, when I look back now and I start reading self-help books or you do whatever and people go like, oh, you just take a leap. And I was going like, I've kind of just been doing that in a natural way anyway, where if you knew me growing up, though, I was a very shy person who wouldn't really do a lot, but I ended up just becoming, as I was getting older, I just kind of say yes and then jump and then just go, let's just see what happens. Because what's the worst thing that can happen, really? Most of the time, if you just need to go back, you go back. But I feel like it just teaches you so much about yourself. And I felt that I did that. And then I came back to Australia. And actually, I came back when my dad got prostate cancer in 2000. I came back. And then that's when I just stayed here after that and did that. Yeah. And then just really made meditation something that was, something that I did consistently. And then I realized when I did go back into work, and this is kind of one of the things that changed me as well, was that I went back there and I realized I wasn't stressed anymore. And I was seeing everyone around me stressed all the time. And I was still adamant. I had a thing when I first started working, I was at Foxtel after that. I used to always tell them I'm not coming in the morning until I've done my meditation. Because a lot of times I had to get up and answer emails and stuff early. So I was like, I'm no use to you until I've actually done it. So if I get in it, I made sure I had an EA anyway, so I was lucky that I didn't have any meetings till 10. And I was always had to drive from Clovelly, so it was always a 1 hour drive. But I just said, I just need to meditate in the morning. And then I used to also do it. There was a few of us actually at Boxtel that used Vedic meditators, so we used to book a meeting room sometimes in the afternoon, or there was a church around the corner sometimes we used to go to, and then it was just, or if I didn't do that, as soon as I walked in the door at home, I would have a shower because that was my transition point, and then I would sit down, meditate, and then do something. Because if you do anything, especially in the afternoon meditation, it's easy to not do it, get distracted. If you put the stove on, or I'm just going to do this, or make one phone call, and all of a sudden it's gone. Whereas I was very strict with myself, I suppose, like doing that. And then I think that looking at all those people being stressed, and I thought the only thing that I do different to these people is that I have a meditation practice. So then I'd sent so many people to my teacher, and then she ended up saying to me in the end, like, can you please go and learn to become a teacher, because you're just like a walking billboard. And so that's kind of planted the seed. And then at the time I was really wanting to leave television as well. I'd kind of like done everything I'd really want to do, like at a young age. And then I was like, well, am I going to be here until 65? Because now it's going to be boring.
Yeah.
So, and I knew that my only way out was like out. So, and then it was also, again, another leap, right? So the first thing I did was like went to India for 5 months pretty much. I did like Panchakarma, which was like an Ayurvedic treatment that I was doing for my cancer stuff. And then I also went and did 3 months of teacher training to be a Vedic meditation teacher, where you meditate 14 hours a day for 3 months and listen to lectures. And
That's a lot.
it's a lot.
Did it feel like a lot at the time? Were you like, this is hard going?
It's really interesting because at the beginning they tell you, oh, when we tell you to stop doing 14 and come down to 13 and 12 and wind you down, like you need to make sure you come down. And we're all thinking like as if we're not going to want to come down. But actually you get quite high on it.
So when you're meditating for 14 hours a day.
We used to do a yoga asana in between each one,
Okay.
right? So there was like a bit of breath, little yoga asana, which is enough to keep your body moving. And then you do shavasana and then you go back in and doing, it's called rounding. And then you meditate again.
Okay, that's what I wondered. I'm like, because my foot would go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and are you stopping for meal breaks?
Well, we normally used to do 7. Try to get up in the morning like at 4 a.m. or something like that. So we would try to do 7. Normally we would just have milk actually, because they used to milk cows and stuff there at the ashram and stuff like that. So boil it. It's like the most delicious milk because it's just straight from the cow.
Yep.
The way it was meant to be. And then you kind of drink this milk, which is just very nourishing for the body. And even if you're lactose intolerant stuff there, it just doesn't seem to have any effect.
Yeah.
And then just drink that. And then normally go back and do a few more rounds. And then, then we would like have lunch, maybe have a break for a little bit. And then a lot of times in the afternoons, we would go and do the rest of them in the outside.
Yeah.
Like on the grass and things like that. So in nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really magical time. I mean, if I could do it again, I would do it again. It was definitely a life-changing experience that, and it's interesting as well, even though there was probably 25 people doing teacher training when I was there, and they were like, oh, only 3 or 4 of you will probably go on to actually become teachers that will actually do this as a full-time gig. And you think at the time, why would you pay $30,000 to like come and do this and then not actually do it? But actually that's what happened.
I have a couple of friends that did that. They didn't do it in India. They did it with a teacher in Newcastle, but it was a big commitment. It was 12 months.
Yeah, it's a long commitment when they do it not on site. Yeah.
But I know one friend in particular, she's a wonderful person, and I love being around her and having conversations around soulful, spiritual stuff, I guess you could say. But she said that was absolutely a life changer for her. And I think she'd been going through some hard stuff. So she wasn't necessarily doing it to become a teacher, but it actually helped her.
Some people go through the teacher training as well, not to become a teacher. You just go there because some people want the knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, with Vedic meditation, if you're not going to be a teacher, they normally don't take the mantras. So you do all the stuff, but you don't learn all the mantras at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the self-love meditation that you sent me, the 25-minute one, at the end when you do put your hand on your heart and repeat for about 10 minutes is aham prema.
Yeah.
That's a mantra?
That means aham means I am and prema means love. Yes.
So would you consider that like a lead mantra sort of thing?
No, they're more like japa mantras. So they're japa mantras are mantras that we can say out loud or internal.
Yes.
Yeah, but the bija mantras, we don't ever say them out loud. They're only, once they're whispered in your ear when you learn to meditate, it gets implanted into your consciousness, and then we don't say them out loud anymore. Because once they're implanted, if you say them out loud, it's like pulling roots out. They don't
pulling you out.
it. Yeah, okay. So it's like it's just, that's why the bija mantras are like kind of sacred mantras. We don't use them in anything apart from meditation.
I'm so curious about this, and I want to do this. I want to literally pick your brains
Yeah.
because I'm so curious, because the meditations of yours that I've done, the YouTube ones, again, I'd absolutely love them, but I'm like, I'm in, I want more.
Yeah, that's what happens as well. It's like even with apps like Headspace and a few other ones like that, which are really great. There's nothing wrong with any of those ones. Headspace is really good. But they also use normally generic mantras like So Hum and things like that. But they also will leave periods, like little spaces where they'll, after a while, because they kind of do a build up, right? It's like,
Yeah.
and then you get to a point where all of a sudden your mind does start to transcend because it's kind of rewiring your brain while it's doing it, even like when you're doing the self-love ones. It's just like it's kind of already rewiring your brain in a way. And then that way, when you do actually get a bija mantra, it kind of knows what to do with it straight away. But even if you don't have one, that's why some people do start to go into that transcendent space. And then normally the guy on Headspace goes like, no. And people go, I was just about to go somewhere, but I could feel I was going. And then you just took me out because there was a voice, right? So that's why...
That's why you do it within.
Yeah, and that's why the same thing is what you just said, though, where people go like, now I know that there is somewhere else that I'm supposed to be going. I just need the thing to actually get me there. Because mantras are just mind vehicles, right? They're just mind means mind and try means vehicle. They're like just mind vehicles to like help you go from that active thinking mind down to a place of transcendence. Or it's just an inner bliss state, if you didn't know what transcendence means. It's like that inner state of calm bliss because it's bringing your attention into the body and just taking you into your least excited state so that you can...
So what does transcendence feel like? How do you know when you're there?
Well, I always say the bitch about transcendence is that you never know that you've transcended until after you've transcended, right? Is that, it's one of these things that happens that you kind of go... A lot of people feel like they say like, oh, I was falling asleep. And I'm like, well, we always do Vedic meditation sitting up in a chair. So you do feel yourself like nodding a little bit. It's almost that... It drops you off in that space between waking and sleeping and dreaming. So it kind of almost drops you off in that space, but you feel like you're going to go to sleep, but because you're sitting up, you don't lose muscle tone, so you don't actually go to sleep. And that's why we always do it sitting up, because if you were past 45 degrees, you would just go to sleep. It would induce sleep. It's just taking you to that place where that transcendence place is a place where we just call it like our inner bliss state. It's hard to describe exactly what it is, but once you go there, you know that you've been there. It's one of those things where you come out and then you think, hang on a minute, I was just doing something. I was saying that sound. That's right. Mantra. I had a thought. I was thinking about this. When you like consciously realize that you're not thinking the mantra anymore, then you go back to thinking the mantra. That's kind of like the practice. But that transcendent feeling, it's just this beautiful bliss state that actually, is our true state, actually, that true, beautiful state of bliss. So even when you do the breathwork stuff, you can have that transcendent feeling by doing 20 minutes of breath work, for example. Like, but if you use a mantra in Vedic meditation, you can get there in a few minutes just by closing your eyes and saying the sound, and it drops you there like straight away. Because once you've been doing it for a while, your mind already knows what's about to happen. It's like if you do the same repetitive thing all the time, right? Like it just knows.
When I do at the end of that self-love practice and you say, put your hand on your heart and repeat aham prema, and then say it softer and then say it in your head, I get the most beautiful, overwhelming feeling of love in my heart. Like it literally is so beautiful.
It's because you're using a mantra though, see?
Yeah, okay.
The mantras are like, they're in Sanskrit. So they're in the sounds of creation of the way that they were meant to sound. And so that's why you're actually invoking it, because you're using the mantric name. You're not saying, I am love, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to kind of believe that sometimes when you are saying it. And some people their egoic mind has trouble with that because they don't really believe it, because they don't realize that they might not believe that they am. But if you're saying aham prema, like the vibration of that, especially even aham, if you think about it, just putting your hand,
you can feel it.
Aham, you can feel it. And then you're just invoking love, aham. Then you're just repeating I am love at the level of thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It really is. And I so want to share that with all of you. I've actually
You can put a link to this, you can put it at the end of this.
I'm totally
show notes,
Yeah, I'll totally put it in the show notes. I've actually sent it to a bunch of friends because I'm like, oh my goodness, you've got to do this. And a girlfriend of mine was going through a hard time. I said, right, you need to do this every day for 7 days.
Yeah, good.
I love that. I realize this is probably a bit of a basic question, but I don't care. Do you sit cross-legged or do you just sit in a chair?
I do sit cross-legged, but not because you have to. You
Yeah.
can just sit in, as long as you're comfortable and easy. That's all you need to do. You don't have to be cross-legged. I mean,
Yeah.
when I first went to learn Vedic meditation as a teacher, I wanted to be able to sit cross-legged and I couldn't at the time. So I actually built, I used to call it my throne.
Yeah.
I built this like chair set of the yoga blocks.
Yeah.
And then what I was doing is, because I knew I was going to be there for a few months, I thought I'm just going to train myself to be able to like sit cross-legged on the floor.
Yeah.
So as the weeks went on, I just kept pulling blocks out to make it smaller and smaller till I eventually was on the ground. It's funny because people look at me now. For now, it's like a natural thing for me to have my legs crossed.
Yep.
But yeah, and if people see me now, because a lot of times I meditate in the sauna at the gym sometimes, but normally try to do it when people aren't in there. But people do come in sometimes, and then they'll go like, "Oh, if I tried to sit like that, there's no way I could do it." But I just feel like now it's as long as you're comfortable, you can just sit in a chair. Sometimes I will just sit in a chair too, depending on. As long as you actually do the practice is what matters. So you should just be comfortable, but not laying down.
Yes, that's a good one because I've done that and fallen asleep many a time. I have seen commentary sometimes, usually through social media, when somebody might put something about a guided meditation up and then some people go, guided meditation is not a real meditation.
So, I mean, I like to categorize meditation as 3 different things as well. So I think there's like concentration techniques where you concentrate on your candle or your breath or something. And then there's contemplation techniques, which are guided meditations because they're like guiding you to something. And then there's transcending techniques. I really feel like the first 2 shouldn't be called meditation either, to be honest. They should be called mindfulness practices.
Okay.
Because they really do help you control your mind and they really like start to de-excite it. But is it meditation? No. Because I think that, Vedic meditation is a 5,000-year-old practice like Transcendental meditation, like any of those types of meditations. And the reason why they're still around today is because you're using seed sounds and a technique which is 5,000 years old or over 5,000 years old, and it still works.
Yeah.
And you don't need an app. You don't need a phone. You don't need anything to be able to do it. You can sit anywhere, in a doctor's surgery, at a bus stop, on a bus, like in a train, anywhere. Like if you get 5 minutes, just close your eyes and start saying your mantra. Like you can do it anywhere. You don't have to go like, oh, I need to have 20 minutes. I need to be in my chair. That's why we don't really place any attention on that kind of stuff because it's actually designed to do anywhere. And whereas a lot of times if you are doing guided meditations, then you think, well, I need to have my phone or I didn't have my headphones or I don't have whatever. So then you just don't do it. There's no barrier to those things, right? Plus also, if you're listening to a voice and you're concentrating on something,
Yep.
you're not, how is your mind de-exciting and how is your body releasing stress? It's not. It's actually, you're listening to someone tell you whatever it is. It could be like, now you're in a field and you're doing this. But it's like I've said to people before that are sitting on my couch that might get a reading and stuff. And there's some practices I want to give people which will be a bit more intense than others. But if you don't have a meditation practice, then I can't give you some of those harder ones. I'll give you the breathwork stuff or give you some other things. But, sometimes I go like, do you have a meditation practice? And I'll go like, yes. And I go, oh, what is it? And then they'll be like, oh, I go down to the cliff every day and I sit on the thing and I listen to this meditation and I do it every day. And I was like, do you do it on the days when it's raining? And they go like, well, no. I said, but do you just do it at home though? Do you go and like just do it on your bed? And they're like, well, no, I don't really do it at all those days. And I was like, okay, well then you don't have a consistent meditation practice. Like if they said to me like, oh, if it's raining, I'll just do it in my room. Then yes, okay, I would actually err on maybe giving you something because I can see that you are definitely trying to have a consistent practice. But if you're only doing it when the sun's out and you can sit on the rock and, do you know what I mean?
Yes. I'm loving this.
Yeah.
I'm loving this because
I think we just have to be realistic about it. Are we a meditator or we're not a meditator? Or we're trying to be a meditator?
Okay,
I just think that's the thing. Like it's not, you're either doing it or you're not doing it. Like it's that simple.
I love you said that because I've realized I'm trying to be a meditator. I literally have just, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to be a meditator. I probably thought I was a meditator, but I'm actually not. I'm trying to be. Huh. Can you help me get better?
Sure. 100%.
Okay, if you're like me and you're trying to be a meditator, Geoff's our person. Okay, I want to talk about your trips to India because
I'm about to do another one.
Yes, I really want to do one. I've seen them come up, and I was talking to Nicola Unite, and
Nicola just came on my last one.
She told me, and she said it was freaking amazing.
Yeah, I really try to
Yes.
give people, when I take people to India on a retreat, I really try to give them the whole experience. I think that, I like to start off in Delhi and we do like old Delhi and new Delhi. So, because most people, when they come on those retreats, have never been to India before. So I like to go, well, this is what New Delhi looks like now. It looks a bit like Sydney in some parts, and then you take them to old Delhi and the rickshaws and yeah, but there's so much history and stuff everywhere. And then I like to take them to Agra to the Taj Mahal, depending on which trip it is, but I do multiple different versions of this. And then, but when we stay there, we stay at like a 6-star hotel where you can see the Taj Mahal from everywhere. It's one of those
I love
hotels.
6 stars.
Yeah. It's one of the most, it's called the Oberais. They're a really beautiful hotel. And I stay there all the time. And it's one of those places where if you're going to go, it's worth spending the money to stay there that night because they got their own golf buggy as well that takes you to the Taj, and if you want to go a couple of times you can, and you can get tickets from there without having to stand in a line. There's a bit more luxury way of doing it. Yeah, so it's just easier if I've got a group. Then I like giving people this beautiful, so we've just been through the parts of India at the back, and then also you're taking them to such beauty. And then after that we went up to Rishikesh, so we go to Anand, who's my teacher as well. Like we stayed at his ashram for a few days so people can see what ashrams living's like. Yeah, even though it's very beautiful there, it's like a fairy wonderland. And then this particular one that Nicola came on was we went to Badrinath, which is at the bottom of the Himalaya. So it takes 2 full days of like driving pretty much to get there. So we start at Anand's retreat space, and then we actually drive one day and we get to Joshiamath, which is like 3/4 of the way there pretty much, and then we go further. But this place is only open a few months of the year because there's normally 20 meters of snow there, but there's a temple which most Indian people go to at least once in their lifetime as a pilgrimage to go, because it's almost like an energy vortex there. And so it's like there's volcanic hot springs under the temple because it's normally 9 degrees as well. It's normally pretty cold, or -9. And then you go for dip in hot springs and you go up into the temple and you meditate. And then I know you can stay in there for a long time when you're meditating there.
Yeah. I was talking to some girlfriends last night. Okay, I'm going to be honest, we'd had a few drinks. It was 11 o'clock at night. But one of them was my friend who had studied yoga teacher training and has been on 2 Indian retreats. And I said to her, you were coming on the podcast today and I am really keen to do one of your retreats. And she's like, I'm in. I love them.
Yeah.
And then, I was talking to another friend who was there. I'm like, let's go. Let's make this a thing that we do.
Yeah.
Hopefully 2026.
Yeah, I'd love to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. My girlfriend who has been to India twice before, she said she has had the most profound spiritual experiences in temples.
Yeah, every time. I mean, everyone that comes on the retreat, you never come back the same person because where we're going and what we're doing, you're getting a consciousness upgrade whenever you go there because we're doing a lot of meditation. We're doing fire ceremonies called yagyas, which are basically talking to the laws of nature with a pundit priest guy who was trained with Maharishi since he was 8 years old. But normally when people come back, they do feel like, oh, I'm not the same because they're back with their kids and husband or life or whatever it is. And so, yeah, and it normally takes just a couple of weeks of just grounding because there's a new version of you that comes back from those retreats. Like that's why I kind of call them a pilgrimage each time because you're literally going there and you're not really returning the same person that comes back because you're not going to Bali and you're not going to, even though Bali is a spiritual place too, but most people don't go there for that reason. But when you go to India, like you're kind of going because you want, if it's a spiritual retreat anyway, you want transformation or just some answers for yourself in some particular way. And I guarantee you that whenever you come, like you discover a part of yourself you didn't know was actually there a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll put some info about that in the show notes as well.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Have you had any spooky, like ghosty spiritual experiences?
Not so much ghosty experiences, but I mean, I can tell you a story, which I don't really tell very often, but I'll tell you.
Okay.
If you like.
Love it.
So when we were at that temple in Badrinath, not this time, but one of the other retreats that I did. So in the Vedic tradition, there's also different gods and goddesses, and Lakshmi is like the goddess of abundance, right? And she's always like this beautiful Indian woman. So she's always just, if you want abundance, then you pray to Lakshmi. And I had a group with us and we were up at the top of this temple and we were at this little fire pit and the little pundit guy that was like, hey, we need wood and fire. And I was like, we don't have any. Like, he's going to go outside and ask them. And like, I went outside. There's no shops there. We're on top of a mountain. And I was like, there's nothing out there. And he was like, don't worry about it. And then all of a sudden people just kind of started coming along and were putting sticks and stuff on this thing. And then I had a group of people and I was kind of facing the temple with him. and the other people around this thing. And then this beautiful girl came along and she was handing out these little ghee wicks kind of thing and giving them to all my people. She had like a few packets of them and she was giving them to my
Guests.
and so they were like doing that. And I thought like, oh wow, like how nice that she's actually done that. And then I went up to her to give her some money or whatever, and she's like, no, it's fine. And then she just kind of started walking away, and I walked back around the fire, and then just as I looked back up from the fire, she just like vanished. And I just looked at him and I was like, who was that? He went, Lakshmi. And I was like, oh, of course it was. Like,
Wow.
yeah, I've had a few experiences that have been similar to that. Like, so it's like, and you never know what's going to happen in India. You just go because
Let's see where that goes.
For whatever reason, one of us needs to go and see this guy, so that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just like go with. That's why I love it, because most of the time we stay on schedule, but sometimes we do deviate, and you have these like mystical, magical experiences that just kind of happen. And I like taking people there to give them an experience, because I really feel like I've been there so many times, I can't even remember how many times, and I've done a lot. I just feel like sharing that with people. I really enjoy giving people an experience.
And I would say on behalf of those people, I haven't done it yet, but like, thank you, because I'm at the beginning of this whole journey, and I want to learn more and realize how wonderful it is to be walking that path, even though I'm right at the beginning of that path.
Oh,
and it's because of people like you that are actually sharing that.
Yeah.
That you can make that happen for other people or bring them along with you.
Yeah.
That's a really beautiful
And
thing.
I always feel like the people that come on that retreat at that particular time are always meant to, there's something dharmic about it.
Yeah.
And I just think that that's really special, because I could easily have been going on my own and it wouldn't have bothered me if I was. But I love the fact that everyone's like, no, we're here. Like, let's get up at 4:30. Let's go to the temple. Like, because 4:30 is like one of the most powerful times you can go as well.
Why is that?
It's when it's called Brahman hour. It's like where the devas, like all the gods, are changing over from the nighttime ones to the daytime ones. The layer is thinner in that.
The veil.
The veil is thinner in that period. That's why a lot of people meditate at 4:30 in the morning. Or why, if you wake up at 4:30 in the morning, you should just be waking up and meditating.
Okay, I love that. I remember Wayne Dyer used to say that. He'd be like, if you wake up in the middle of the night, meditate.
Yes. You should be meditating as much as you can.
When I wake up at 3 a.m, I'm going to be honest, I pop in my earbuds and I do a yoga nidra.
Yeah, okay.
And go back to sleep.
Yeah. Sometimes you need it though if you've got kids and everything as well.
Yeah. I need whatever sleep I can get just to make it through the day with energy levels. Oh my goodness. How did you get into the Vedic astrology? And I'm really keen for you to share about how that's different from Western astrology.
Yeah. So with Vedic astrology, how I first got into it was my teacher. I brought him to Australia a few times. And when he first came out here, that most people only knew him from doing astrology readings. So he was always doing these readings, and people used to always come out of there going like, oh my God. And then after a while, I just started saying to him, like, are you going to teach people how to do this? And then so eventually he ended up saying, come and learn. And it was actually at the time, because I do coaching and things like that as well. And he said, if you actually learn how to do this, then it's going to really help you with that part of your business, because you don't ever have to worry about people telling you what's wrong with them. You're just going to see it straight away. And so I ended up doing it, and I was kind of only really using it at the beginning as a bit of a coaching tool. And then during COVID, though, it was when everything shut down. I couldn't do in-person things anymore. So I just doubled down on the astrology. I was going like, oh, maybe I'll promote this and I can make some money this way.
Yeah.
So I started doing that, and then it just kind of took off a lot. And I'm probably more well known actually now as an astrologer than I am as the other things. But
yeah.
And it's one of those beautiful modalities or techniques that I really watch it change people's lives all the time. The difference between Vedic astrology and Western astrology is that Vedic astrology looks at what star sign was actually rising on the easternmost horizon at the time that you were born, whereas Western astrology is about 23 degrees out from where Vedic astrology is. It's using the tropical zodiac, so they look at where your sun was, not actually what constellation was, not what your rising sign was.
Yeah.
And then they also never took into account Western astrology that the Earth tilts on its axis. They only took it from a fixed position, but we know that the Earth tilts on its axis. So Vedic astrology looks at where the stars actually are in the sky. If you had to stop and look up in the sky right now, that's where they are. But if you look at Western astrology, then it's not like that. It's more in relation to the sun. And in Vedic astrology, we use the sun, but we use the moon a lot as well, more so. And so I find that it's a lot more accurate in a way in terms of describing you as a person. Like, I did a lot of Western astrology stuff first, but when I did this, and actually lots of people who've had Western astrology readings have then come to have a Vedic one just out of interest sometimes. And they've just gone, that does actually sound a lot more like me. When I've said like, oh, you're actually Gemini rising, you're like, no, I'm a Pisces. You know what I mean? Like, no, your sun's in Pisces actually, but you're not.
Yeah.
And then and I think that if you understand what your rising sign is and you understand how you are in this life, and I think that, we know that we're connected to the planets by the chakra system of the body. It's like Saturn is the root chakra, Jupiter is the second chakra, Mars is the third, Venus is the heart, Mercury is the throat, and then we've got the sun and moon. And then if you understand where they are in your chart, which houses represent different parts of your life and different parts of your body and different parts of everything, then like, oh, these are the areas where I need to work on in my life as well.
Yeah.
So it's about using what you have and stop comparing yourself to other people. Like, because you're in your own box and they're in their own box, you know what I mean? Like, but each of them have this beautiful interaction to creation of like evolution of each other. You know? So it's not about that, but that's what I really like. And I think that once you understand your flow through time like that, you stop comparing yourself to other people. You stop worrying about things that you don't need to worry about. You kind of understand that, like, oh, I was always interested in that particular thing. And like, yeah, there's a reason for that. It's because Venus is in your 10th house and that's what it is, for example, right?
Yeah.
And so you're looking at things like that. And a really good example of something that I saw change someone's life recently was that I had a youngish girl that she was maybe in her like early 20s, but she had like a couple of kids already. And I said something about like, oh, it looks like your dad left when you were 2. And she's like, yeah, he did. I can't like stand him kind of thing. And I said, oh, but it looks like actually that around this time, like he could be coming back into your life. And she's like, oh no, he's already here. And I was like, oh, okay. And she's going, yeah, he's got 2 grandkids, but I won't let him see them. And I was like, why? And then she said, like, because he left us. And I was like, well, you actually have the sun and the moon in your house of the mother. So she was supposed to play both roles in your life. He wasn't actually supposed to be there. How did you think that I know that he left when you were 2? She said, how did you know that? And I was like, oh, because it's kind of here that his Dharma heart you could see was supposed to be gone, but he wasn't supposed to raise you like your mum was supposed to raise you. I said, but he's coming back now because there could be something that needs to still be completed before you move on to the next lifetime together. And she was like, oh, and then we ended up like hour and a half reading, went for about 3 hours. The mother was knocking on the door because she wanted to go and, she was looking after the kids and she was like, But it was funny because a few days later I got an email from the mother actually. She said, oh, I hope you don't mind me emailing you. I asked my daughter for the thing. She goes like, I just wanted to thank you because the girl who came out of that room, the girl who went into that room and the girl that came out was a completely different person.
Wow.
And she said, I just wanted to thank you for putting my family back together because I've been trying to get her to see her father and he's wanted to meet his grandchildren. And she's just been adamant, like, no, because he left. And I was trying to explain to her that the person who left isn't the person that's there now, but she wasn't having it. But as soon as she walked out of that room, she asked me to call him and tell him to come over for dinner. So he came over for dinner that night and he met his grandchildren for the first time that night. And she said, and for the last 3 nights, he's been here every night for dinner. And she said, so I don't know who you are. And but I just wanted to say thank you for what you did for my family.
Wow.
So it was just things like that, those kind of stories it gives me goosebumps even now thinking about it,
Absolutely.
And I could tell you lots of stories like that with people, like, someone where I've gone like, oh, were you separated from your family when you were born? And she's like, is that in there? And I was like, yeah. I was like, it looks like you were separated when you were born. She said, yeah, my parents had me when I was 16 and I was taken off them and I lived with the nuns for a year. And she said, and then I got given back to them when I was like 17. I said, oh, you still had a pretty like fucked up life till you were like about 23, but then you've had a really good life. She's like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, you came in burning off karma, literally something that was left over with that. And I said, but it gave you a good back end. And she's like, yeah, she goes, it did. And she ran it with me the next day as well, going like, oh, she was a coach. She's going, I always tell this story as a victim at the beginning of going like, oh, I was born to 16-year-old parents and blah, 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 blah. And I had all this stuff. And she goes, and last night I couldn't sleep because I kept thinking about all the polarities of like everything that happened to me in my life. Like, hang on, I came in burning off karma, like, so I could have a good back end. Like, fuck yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, and she's like, and then
she had a whole mind shift.
Yeah. And she said, and then I looked at when I got divorced from my husband, actually, what was the good things that came out of that? Like, even though there was some bad stuff, but actually there was a lot of good stuff. And I probably wouldn't be who I am today without all that stuff. And she said, I'll stay awake all night looking at the polarities of everything. And then I realized as well, that talk that I give at the beginning, like I've always started my talk off as a victim. And she goes, I'm changing that from today. You know, just things like that. I just think that it just brings an awareness into something that you might not have thought about before. Like there's always two ways of looking at everything. And I think that I just love astrology so much. Like I just think that it's this beautiful gift, and it's getting a lot more popular now.
Yeah.
But I think it's having a resurgence because we, as humanity, we're going through an awakening.
Yeah.
If you haven't felt it, you will. So you can see things are shifting, like things are changing, like AI is coming as well. It's about to change and upset everything. But it's all doing it because it's like shaking the apple cart to cause evolution as well. You know, we'll move into other things and it'll be fine. Like, you know, we just always, but that's why you need to have these practices as well. But then it's also understanding your flow through time and what gifts you have and what challenges you might have to bring in. Maybe sometimes you do go through like a little pullback period for 2 years where it's supposed to readjust you to where you got to go. But if you know that that's what's happening, and then you're just doing some practices, or you're just doing some things to like align, you're just keeping yourself in alignment. There's things that you can do. You don't have to there's no blue pill, all right? Just so everyone knows. There's no blue pill.
No blue pill.
No, there isn't a blue pill. But if you actually do have an understanding of yourself, and then you also have some practices that you can fall back on, like when you're feeling out of alignment or whatever, that you know, like, oh, this just grounded me and centered me, I'm going to keep doing this, or you just meditate every day. Then, yeah, we've got japa practices, which are known as the superpowers of Jyotish. So they're like a repetitive mantra, but you might do like 19,000 over 40 days, for example, because they're like a tapas, like a penance where you do something to receive something. But that's what I said before. Like if you don't have like a proper meditation practice, if you can't meditate every day, then you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So I'll give you something else instead, you know, which is fun. There's always things around it. There's always like steps that lead you to the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a year of the snake, year of the horse person?
I'm a dog. I know that. I knew that I was the year of the dog. But yeah, I mean, yeah, interestingly, like the year of the snake is about, they're saying that's about shedding skins. And interestingly, when I look at it, I think like, oh, because in Vedic literature as well as the Kundalini, which is like represented by the serpent, that's the energy that spirals from the base of the spine. So it's known as a 3.5 called serpent. So it's like, you know, maintenance, creation, destruction, and then infinity kind of thing as well. So I often feel like if I think about the world in general and where we're at, I feel like we're almost at that awakening point as well. Like I really feel like 2026 will be a year that, because even astrologically, when we looked at 2020, when we were studying it back in like 2013 or something, we were like, something's going to happen in 2020. Yeah. Because all the planets were on one side. And we're going like, but it doesn't affect like a country. It affects like humanity. Whatever it is, it affects all of us. But we didn't really know but I remember when the virus was on and it's on the TV, and then I saw like this many dead, and then the planes have shut, and then I was like, oh, this is what it is. It's a virus. So I looked at it with fascination, going like, oh, this is actually what it is. So I knew that we're at like some turning point of something, you know. That's why I think that there's nothing to be afraid of with anything. It's just about it. If you look after yourself and you live the best life that you live, and you live in alignment with like your energetic state and your thing, then you don't need to worry about anything. Yeah. Because you'll always be supported.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much.
No problem. My pleasure. We'll definitely have to come back again.
Absolutely. There's so much I want to talk about. I've got all these questions that I haven't even got to. We're now over an hour. I love it. Oh, Geoff, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
I love this. And I'm shifting from trying to be a meditator to being a meditator. I actually need to talk to you because I'm really, number one, going to book in for another Vedic astrology reading. Anybody who wants to book in with Geoff, how can they do that?
On my website's just geoffrupp.com.
Anybody who's keen to do an Indian retreat.
Yeah, it's on there as well.
Yes. Yeah. And yes, your YouTube channel.
I'm on Instagram as well, like just Geoff Rupp, just my name pretty much. On Instagram, YouTube. Yeah. Or my other branding is kind of called Find Your Calm, which was like about, I kind of created an umbrella brand. But if you type in Find Your Calm or Geoff Rupp, you'll find me. Absolutely. And yes, we need to talk more about how I come from trying to be a meditator to being a meditator. Yeah, well, we'll make you a meditator, then we'll talk about it. How about that? Love that. Perfect. Thanks so much, Geoff. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.